All right, welcome to episode 89. Yeah, that's right, 89 episodes of the RC Afterhours podcast. I am your host, Andre Russo, and today's guest is Sam from HangerRC, who we've not had on. I'm going to say it's been a year, buddy, and I'm really sorry. Yeah, I've had a few comments saying, where's the podcast? What's going on? As I said in the last episode, I think it's just been the year. And thanks, Brian, for the update. The sound and video are good, which is good to know. I know last time the settings were all weird and everything. So, yes, 21 is trying to be 2020, and it's just nothing is working out quite right. So, doing what I can, flying when I can, podcasting when I can, doing videos when I can. It sounds like, the story of everything. So, Sam and I have been dying to get back together and have a good conversation, a good chat and everything. And this is how it worked out. And it's some random Sunday. I think, Sam, your video might be garbling up, so we may have to turn off the video feed.
Working on that.
Yeah, we'll watch that and keep an eye on it. The main, obviously the main goal is the audio and everything. So there we go. Sam, how have you been? And the whole purpose of this podcast is basically to catch up on HangerRC, talk about what's going on, talk about some of the stuff you've seen going on in the hobby and everything, bench flying, all that other stuff, and have some fun. And I will hint, those Patreon, you lucky Patreon guys and gals and everything who support the podcast, again, I'm sorry, it happens, but we're going to be doing a draw later on. I won't do it during the podcast, so stay tuned. If you're a Patreon, log in afterwards. There'll be details. Someone is me taking home or getting sent to them by mail a Texan. Sam, you got that bad boy in your hands? Yes. Wow. He's got it somewhere. See, I'm ad-libbing here. I'm throwing stuff at him. There it is. Look. It's got the RC Afterhours logo. That's upside down, I think, buddy. There we go. Yes, Sam was very nice and put a logo on the thing. All right, Sam, talk me through it. What has been going on in 2021 as a manufacturer of RC aircrafts?
Oh, wow. It's 2020 and 2021 have absolutely been 100% insane. Like the highs, the lows, just with everything that's going on in the world with the pandemic, it's been a nightmare. But we've had a lot of fun. There's a lot of things we've got planned. You'll have to excuse me. I'm trying to shut down all my streaming stuff so it will stream better. But yeah, it's just been crazy. We've had supply chain issues. We've had, we've had, people manufacturing issues. We've had, it's just, and it's all culmination because of the pandemic, and it's all mostly, I would say, because of the pandemic.
Yeah. I just shut off my camera to you, so that might save us a little bit of bandwidth here. So as a young, semi-young manufacturer, for our listeners, can you describe like some of the supplies and everything that you use, and how that was, like, what do you use, where it's from, and talk us through that, and just so the audience who are listening, get an idea of what those are, what the logistics are behind that.
Right. And it is. So the first supplier that we use that's kind of crazy comes out of China. All our power kits are from China. I wish I could say they were made in the United States, but the way things are in the hobby, a lot of stuff is outsourced. I'm proud to say our actual kits, the actual kits that you guys are getting, are made in the United States. But, so it's from China. We have to wait for it. We're at the mercy of their shipping. We're at the mercy of, time it takes to come across the pond. And some of our distributors and our manufacturers in China are they're still backlogged. And with the second wave of COVID coming through, it can be crazy. It's insane. And so it takes time for us to get our product in, at least our power kits. Now, all our all our actual foam board kits are made here in the United States. And obviously we source our Adams Ready board. There was a time where we had a hard time getting push rods, which is kind of a weird thing not to have in stock. But the good news is a lot of our parts for our airplanes, including the laser cuts, are 3D printed, or not the laser cuts, but a lot of our parts are 3D printed for the laser cut, for the foam board kits, and we manufacture those in house. We have a small army of 3D printers, and so the good news that supply chain wasn't interrupted. There was a while there during the height of the pandemic where you couldn't. It was hard to find foam board. I'm not sure if you guys experienced that or not, but our supply chains were out, and I'm sure that had to do with the pandemic, with nobody working and everybody shut down and manufacturing facilities shut down and everything. So I think we're over the hump. In fact, I just got a shipment from our manufacturer in China for ESCs yesterday, and they came it was literally less than a week, which is unheard of from China. So I was really happy about that. But yeah, I hope with the second round of COVID, I hope our supply chains aren't interrupted. The thing that really messed us up is on the WASP. Our WASP, it was right when COVID hit, right when it came to the States, or right when it came to Utah, and our manufacturing facility instantly shut down. And so we had everything hyped up for the WASP, and it was good to go, and everything was looking like it was going to be an awesome airframe, and it still is an awesome airframe, and then the pandemic hit, and we couldn't even get kits in. Like, it was impossible. That was when we were outsourcing our kits. And so obviously since then, we've brought the manufacturing in-house, and we haven't had that problem where we haven't been able to at least build kits. Electronics, we're at the mercy of China, so it's a little bit different story. Anyway, so that's kind of where our manufacturing is at. But the good news is I don't foresee it happening again. It may happen with the suppliers that we have no control over, like China, but I knock on wood that doesn't happen.
So during this time, I mean, obviously a lot of us are focusing on doing everything we can just to live a good life and try and enjoy the hobby here and there. Were you taking advantage of opportunities to design things, or was the supply issues really impacting that, even the R&D in the background as you're looking at new creations and so forth?
I say we haven't stopped designing stuff. We have actually had since since March of 19, we have actually had a lot of airframes in our back pocket. Here at the Hangar, we run a relatively small team to get your kits manufactured, packing, shipping, marketing, and everything. So it's kind of a small team. So that's where we're at the mercy of is how much can we do with our small team. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a wonderful team of designers, and shout out to all of them. You guys know who you are. They're amazing. They've developed some amazing airframes, and we have I would probably say 10 or so in our back pocket. It's just a matter of getting them out to our beta team, getting the beta builders to build them, and then getting them back in and getting them finalized and released. I'll be honest, and this gives you a little bit behind the scenes. The worst part about the whole process is filming the build video and getting that put together. It's and Andre, you do videos on YouTube as well. It takes a grundle of time. It's amazing how much time it takes. And where I do professional videos, it just takes time. I mean, that's why full-length feature film movies take years to produce, because it just takes time. And those are the hardest things for us. That's the weakest link is getting those videos filmed and getting them released. And but other than that, I mean, we've got a lot of airframes planned. I wish you could see the video right now. We've got one in the background here. If you haven't noticed, we'll just leave it at that. We won't tell much about it, but it's coming. We've got lots planned. They're coming, I promise. You just have to, it's just one of those things where we're a smaller company, and so you just have to be patient. It's just the way it is when you have a small team.
Yeah, well, okay, and a question then. when you come up, when you envision a new design, whether it's something like the I'm drawing a blank, the Texan, or something fresh and new and interesting, similar to the 7 or something. What's your lead time? Like, how long do you feel like you put in to build an aircraft and say, okay, this is, repeatable, like I can send these plans out and someone can build it and everything?
Well, that really, it varies from airframe to airframe. It varies. It depends on the complexity of the airframe. Obviously, the Texan is a little bit more in-depth build than, say, like the Vulture. It really depends, and it depends on how fast, because our wonderful beta team, and they're amazing as well. And we try to say, okay, if you can try to build it within, say, let's say 3 weeks or whatever it is, give them a little bit of time, because they have lives too. They, life happens. You know that as well as I do. And it really depends on numerous factors, and you can kind of predict it, but you may come up to something in the beta team may discover that you're like, oh, now we have to go back to the drawing board, or we have to revise this or revise that. So it really does. And I'm giving you a lot of information into the manufacturing side of things and how things run here, which some people may be bored to death of, but some people may find interesting. But so there's a lot of variables there, and we try to get them, within, I would say, from time of inception to market, I try to make it within 2 or 3 months, but it doesn't always happen. Obviously, we've been in business for a little bit over, almost 2 years now. And we've only had 4 or 5 airframes, but that's the process. It just takes time. And what we're doing right now is we have a major push for the winter build season. So I'm ramping up, trying to get a bunch of airframes ready for the winter build season so that we can release a bunch of airframes this winter, and then next spring have everybody be flying them. So
what are you
we're working
about?
on that.
You don't fly in the winter?
As fast as we can. Oh, I fly in the winter, but as well as I do, it's really hard to go out when it's minus 20 outside.
Oh, no.
Although, I don't know how cold it gets where you're at. I know it's cold.
It's cold. You know what? I actually enjoy flying into the fall and the winter because the parks, unless I'm driving out to the flying field, like the actual club, I enjoy the parks because I can just get out and go and everything. So I'll be out. But like you said, you got to spray down those airplanes then. Otherwise, you're going to be doing impact to the covers. Are you starting to see a little bit more, a lot more interest in your products and everything, over the course of the last 2 years as you slowly generate interest?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of buzz out there right now about us. I think with, of course, there's a little bit of ebb and flow, right? During the summer, been a little bit slower because everybody's been out flying, and it's just the natural. You see that in the market, but I think there's a lot of chatter on social media and and other groups and whatnot out there about us, and I think we're, like I said, we're the little fish in a big pond, but I think we're making waves, and I think we're going to continue to make waves. Albeit slow, but I've said from the first, we've, tried to do slow, calculated moves so that we can be around here in, 15, 20 years. And so, yes, we are small, but there is a bunch of stuff out there that's going on, and a bunch of people are talking about us. And I think it's awesome. And I even there's people outside of the industry that are talking about us as well. I've kind of a little spoiler. I've got some, another podcast that's not even related to RC that wants to have us on. So kind of a interesting dynamic there, how they found us and how we found them, and the partnership that ensued and whatnot. So I think yeah, there's a lot of talk out there, and I think we're moving forward strong. We really are. Good,
and it's nice to, like, we've had some pretty awesome conversations about you and how you're building up your operation and just taking it incremental. And I guess it's got to be about sustainability. It's got to be about, having fun as well, producing a product and producing a product that's good, affordable, and enjoyable. And that's hard right now. I'm thinking like, and off air, you and I teed off just talking about, some of the thoughts, and we both expressed concern about where and what what the COVID effect has had on the industry as a whole. We're talking electronics, we're talking supply, we're talking overall costs, and so I think in the next year, and it's and I saw it when I was looking at other models and other planes, you can just see those incremental prices. And talking with the industry, I think we're going to see a shift. Yes, you'll always have those high-end models, and there will always be a price. And I think you're going to see a lot of people go, okay, maybe I was buying 3 or 4. And we saw this years ago too, when things were just getting more expensive. All right, let's bring that back, and let's bring that back. And it could come back to where like people are legitimately saying, well, I guess I'm going to buy that one big purchase ticket item aircraft, and then the ability to, get back into I love calling it the roots. I really do love calling it this grassroots building, because this is how I got into the hobby, and just, especially for someone who's starting. And I get sad when I see that, and you start going, okay, basic radio, the charger, the batteries, and it's getting really hard to start off with. I'm finding like just finding places where you can, one, get stuff that's accessible, affordable, without going too far. Because I think about like if I was a parent and my kid was like, can I try this? And you're kind of like, used to be that, okay, yeah, let's go pick up a battery and all this stuff. And all of a sudden it's like, well, are you trying it, or are you actually seriously interested? Because the investment, that financial line, I think, has moved to the right a little bit further. So the seriousness of it. So I think it's really critical, and the stuff that you're starting to produce, and some of the stuff you've told me about, will be key if people are interested in foam boards and the plans and all this stuff, and just the idea and the community. There's a fantastic community out there right now, but I really am concerned about and plus we have a younger generation who are more obsessed with their online fun than actually getting out and doing stuff. And it's a really fun hobby still. Even though with everything that's going on, it is still a fantastic hobby that really, really likes to it needs attention. I'm just looking over some of the questions here, actually, that are coming towards you. Hamilton Hangar asks, the Wasp looks cool. It is a phenomenal aircraft. I've got one sitting behind me. I haven't given it nearly enough flying time this year. This is something Sam sent me and I built. And there's some videos and we've discussed it in previous podcasts, so check it out. Really fun, advanced flyer in my. This is one of the ones where if you've got the power and the gear and the batteries, you can have a riot with this thing. And I've just started tickling its potential, so I'm gonna be trying to get it out later on. It is on my things to. I need to repair a few things. I was telling Sam the other day, I'm in the basement, and the Wasp is hung up, and I hear a thunk, and it took me about a half an hour to find out. And I guess with all the humidity and the heat and everything in the basement, the motor had detached from the back of the pod, and the airflame had dropped. But I mean, it's such an impressive aircraft. It did nothing to it. So I'll get that thing back out. And I'm looking at some of the other questions. Hut asks, are you ever going to go into anything giant? Ooh.
Giant, huh?
Giant size
I guess
board.
I guess what classifies as the monster foam board that Flight Test produced. I'm not going to say no, but like we were talking earlier, Andre, we want to maintain that. My mantra of this whole thing has been easy to build, easy to fly.
Yes, sir.
Now, now what qualifies as easy? What qualifies as easy build? That varies depends on how big what your skill level is. But I've always wanted to maintain that feeling that got me into the hobby, that I can actually do this. When I built my very first airframe, when I built the Flight Test Tiny Trainer, both me and my wife were like, there is no way in the 7th layer that this is ever going to fly. And we maintained that. And even when the first time I put it up, I crashed and burned, and I was stupid and I launched it in my front yard, which I never should have done because I live in a subdivision where there's lots of houses and whatnot. But I thought, oh, I can just put it up and put it right back down. You know, this was the rookie mistakes that you make. But
it's foam board.
It is foam board, and that's the beauty of foam board is it's so forgiving, and it crashes. You're not, even if you buy a kit, you're not out a ton of money. I mean, I have a molded foam that came from a manufacturer here, an airplane sitting here, that I am nervous as heck to fly because I paid a bunch of money for it and it sits there. So I always want to have that easy to build, easy to fly, you know, and not necessarily entry level because, you know, you have to grow with your fan base and that's fine. But I really want to make it approachable. And I think monster builds are hella cool, but I don't, they can, and they're awesome in the sky, but I don't think I think it can be intimidating, especially if you sell it as like a kit and someone buys the kit and then they have a bad experience, then you may or may not have ruined the hobby for that individual.
You need to ship it.
So
you need
and there's a ton of logistics there that go into that. So I'm not saying we won't, but I'll be honest, I really, really, really like the 40 to 60 inch wingspan, something that 2 sheets of foam board, if you will. Yeah. That's kind of I really enjoy that, and a lot of our subscriber base, a lot of our customers, our clients are in that same arena.
Fits in the trunk of the car.
Well, yes, and I'm not saying the Wasp does because it is pretty big, but you're right.
The Wasp is the big one, yeah.
It is big. It is big. It is a bigger airframe. But when we were developing that, the designer of it, Rick down in Texas, he released it to me, and I went and started building. I'm like, oh, this thing's got to be bigger. It just felt like it had to be bigger. So yes, I will go where the aircraft go, or where
the dynamics
they
of it
need to be. Yeah, but I don't want to isolate any individual, right? And especially where we want the beginners. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
So actually, that ties in really well because Hamilton Hangar on our YouTube chat is asked me what I built so far. I have only built the Wasp. I have a Texan that's going to eventually be sent to me, and probably the 7. And those, if you step through the lineup, right now, yes, they only have 4 aircraft in their lineup. But if you're looking for your beginner, your intermediate, your secondary, and then your more advanced, I would say it's like Vulture, 7. Texan, and then the Wasp is, and that's based on power systems, batteries, what do you got lying around? And I guess that's the wonderful part about the Scratch, these foam board planes and early days for me, and I said this in previous podcasts, I learned so much about flying. I learned there was I had the basics. I knew how to fly. I started off really small, and I started building foam board aircraft and just having a hoot. Okay, these ESCs, these batteries, these props, these motors, couple servos, let's go. And
and that's the beauty of foam board. It really is.
Oh, this is it, because I botched a couple models, but I learned a lot of dynamics, and I've had some really harebrained schemed ideas in the last couple of years, and every once in a while I've been off. I've fully been off the rail because I've been trying other things and really trying to get back and enjoy my hobby, and it's slowly coming. But I've got foam board, and I've got my knives, and I've got my hot glue gun, and every once in a while I'll sketch out a thing and I'll put it together and I'll be like, hey, it flew. Why? Because you understand CG a little better. And these are like excellent aircraft to have fun with. And we've had conversations where, I learned a lot of lessons in my early days because it would be like, well, the CG is here. I'm like, well, your foam board is different than mine. And even when you sent me the Wasp, even though I have Adam's foam board, it's different. And we got to account for that when you do your balance and your loads. And okay, so the airplane's going to behave a little different. And everybody flies a little differently too. Some
and
people,
there's always variables. I mean, you may use a lot more glue than I use, or vice versa. So there's always going to be variables. Once again, the beauty of foam board is that it's very approachable. Pretty much anything you put in the air, as long as it meets the basic four, of aerodynamics and drag and lift and gravity, and as long as it meets those four basic fundamental things, it'll pretty much fly. But there's always going to be variables.
Yeah, and things get wet sometimes too. It's foam board.
Yes, they do. Moisture, yes, they do.
The moisture and everything. I remember one year that I did that pink bomber thing, and I took that to Ohio, and it didn't come home because I picked it up after it had sucked in all that moisture because I didn't protect it. Like, you spray it down with some camp dry and you're done, right? You're gold. But I didn't take that step, and I was like, oh, this poor airplane. But you know what? It was foam board. Scrap it and come back to it later on. And that takes away a lot of stress. I hear a lot of people talk about the anxiety of flying, and I'm right there in it when I'm flying a jet, but that gets easier and easier. But the foam board, I maintain it's just a way to start off, and it's so easy to source. And or if you have that foam plane, and something happens to it, you've got all the components. And I think that's where this idea is really golden. I can take all those components, I can throw them into another airframe that's made out of foam board. Boom, I have another airplane. And that, I think, gets overlooked a lot these days for whatever reason. So
and like I said, if it weren't for foam board, I would never have been able to get in the hobby. I just wouldn't have. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, and I once I discovered that, I remember that the eureka moment. I'm like, wait a minute, I can go to the dollar store and I can pick up whatever material, and everybody has their preferred building materials. There's multiple different styles of foam board sheets, and they go at it. And some of my creations were interesting. I think I have a twin cargo plane thing for whatever reason. I really enjoy those. You need a twin in your fleet, dude. And some of the weird FPV ships and the weird wings.
I won't say that we're not working on it.
Of course not. Of course not. Actually, and that'll kind of segue into some of the other stuff. Like, I know we touched on it lately, but what do you think is next? When do you think you'll be over that curb, and what do you want to do next?
What don't I want to do next? That's the better question. I know I want to do it all. Obviously, but you've got to follow what the demand is and what people are interested in, and to an extent, right? And a lot of it depends on what. And I hate to bring the business side of things in, but it has to support itself, right? It has to be able to be worth it, essentially. And so that will depend on how much support we get. And once again, shout out to all of our YouTube subscribers. A shout out to all of our the people who have purchased the kit from us, our beta team, our designers, people like you who support us, who do what they can for us. It means the world to me, and it means the world to everybody here who is on our team. One thing we're trying to do this year, and we've actually, in video coming soon, we've reached our 500 subscriber mark on our YouTube. And I know compared to some of the bigger channels, that doesn't seem like a lot, but every one of those subscribers to me means a lot. Yep. And what we're doing is, if this year, if we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a vulture. And then on top of that, if we reach that 1,000 subscriber mark, I would love to give away an additional airframe as well. So I love doing those types of things, but once again, it all depends on, as we can do them, that's what I want to do. I've got a really good program starting with with actually Dan Sponholes, believe it or not, that we're taking one of his designed airframes, and all the revenue that we get from that airframe will be given back to the community. Whether it is donating to clubs, whether that's donating to educational facilities such as local schools or even non-local schools, veterans. We're going to have a program where people can apply for those funds. And once we get so much money in the pot, if you will, we will go out and donate those funds to the local whatever, or not even the local, whoever's applied for those funds across the United States. We've actually started doing some of that, even though the airframe's not even released yet. For example, we had one of our local flying clubs here in northern Utah. They just had an all-electric event yesterday, and we donated a couple airframes for them to use in a raffle to help improve their club. And so that's things that we want. Those are things I want to do, things we want to do here at the hangar. But once again, it's all going to depend on how much support we get from everybody else. We love doing those things. We love going out to schools. We were just up at our Air Force Museum up on our Air Force Base here in Utah the past couple of weeks doing some filming. And we just love that, giving back to the community, making it so other people can get into the hobby and making it approachable. And so those are the things we want to do. And with everybody's support out there, we can make that possible.
That is awesome to hear. That is nice. That is, yeah. I'm behind you guys. Yeah. When you're out.
So shameless plug, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You'll be able to win a vulture potentially.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Put that in there. Actually, all the links to are in the podcast show notes as well. So you'll be able to see all the various airframes. Okay. So when you're out talking to the community, do you get do you get a lot of requests as far as, hey, you should build this, hey, you should build that, and is there an overwhelming popular model airframe, warbird, whatever that you keep being bugged about?
Yeah, I get requests all the time, and people say, "Oh, this would be an awesome airframe," and we definitely do our market research. We have to put things out there. Sometimes our designer team will design something, and I'll say, "Yeah, we'll look at it, and we'll put it out there," and we share it with specific people. You being one of those people who we share things with, and get their feedback. And if they're just, we have to kind of say, okay, probably we'll keep it in our back pocket, but probably not, not now. And so, yes, we want to do that market research. And we try to listen to our fan base and our subscribership and the people who purchase. If you have a suggestion for us, reach out to us and say, hey, we would love to see, X, Y, and Z. And if we have enough subscribers or enough fan base the demand's there, oh yeah, I'm not opposed to, challenging our design team to do something, right? And so, yes, as far as airframes go, believe it or not, during the pandemic, and I don't know if it had to do anything with the anniversary of the Red Baron, but that a biplane was actually one of our biggest requests during the pandemic.
Yes.
And specifically a World War I biplane.
Gee, I wonder why, right? Very cool. Is it an objective for your lineup that you have unique aircraft too, as well, like unique to your hangar, differentiating you from the various other suppliers who are in the foam board industry?
Sorry, that's my dog. I like the uniqueness. I like unique airframes. That's one of the reasons why I really like the 7. It was unique. It's not something that a lot of people were, especially making out of foam. There's other 7s or RV8s out there that you can buy, pre-manufactured kits or ready to flies and whatnot. But I don't think it was it was something that I had never seen done in foam board. And that's why I really gravitated towards it. So yeah, I think there's I like the uniqueness, but that doesn't mean I'm not opposed to building, for example, a Sky Surfer type of airframe, or a simple stick type of airframe, or a stick type of airframe, ultra stick or whatever, because the demand's there, right? And so there is, with the other guys, there's going to be some overlap. and you have to, you have to take that into consideration, obviously, but I'm not opposed to it. I do like the unique airframes. That's kind of where I'm at. And that's one of the reasons why I like the Texan, but, and the 7 included, but it's not anything that's, that I'm going to say, oh, this is all we're going to do. I'm willing to look at all options.
Mm-hmm. And just reminding a listener, so one, what's the 7 look like? And then talk about the skins.
Okay. So 7 is, if you've got it pulled up right there, it's the middle aircraft on your screen, if you're watching on YouTube. It's modeled after a Vans RV7. It is, actually, I posted it in a couple of the Vans RV7s groups, and the company actually recognized it, and kind of a long story about how we got to our main design of one of the skins, but it was kind of a cool story. I was looking around doing some research online, and I saw an airplane that had that skin design. It's that green one right there. And I absolutely loved it. I'm like, holy cow, that is awesome. So I designed it after that airframe. I posted it to these Vans RV7 groups on Facebook, and somebody reached out to me and said, hey, did you build that airframe? And I said, yeah, it's one of ours, and kind of got talking to him, and he posted a picture in our chat of his airframe that I found online, a picture of, and I asked him, I said, please tell me that that's your airframe or your aircraft. And he said, yes. And I'm like, okay, that is amazing. If I send you a kit, will you take a picture with the full thing? It's on our Instagram. Go look at it. It's really cool. And then he said, if I ever out to Utah, which he comes out here quite a bit, if I ever fly my plane out there, I'm definitely going to come take you for a ride. And I'm like, that'd be amazing. Anyway, so yes, the 7 is probably and to this date, it is still our most popular airframe. It's an amazing airframe. It flies really good. It is not quite a 3D plane. I'm calling it more of a sport plane. But it's a lot of fun. It's a blast. You need to build one, Andre.
Okay.
And then easy done, right? Maybe we'll ship you one up. So yeah, the 7 is probably our most popular. About the skins, our skins, and interestingly enough, we started off, we did a ton of research before we started off about paper, about coverings, about laminating foam board, and how to do it. And and there's some guys out there that are doing it or were doing it at the time. And so we did all this research on paper quality and paper type. We wanted something that held the ink well and was a good the ink would hold to it. And we came up with this specific paper we use. And it's kind of a heavier weight paper, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it actually does make the foam a little bit more rigid, a little bit stronger, as you testify with your Wasp. It makes it hold up a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the problem with it is it adds weight. And so you have to compensate for that weight, whether you have to add a little bit more nose weight or whatnot. But during the pandemic, we found another skin. And this is the first time we've actually made this public, but we've been testing it. We've been sending it out to people we've reached out to people who have ordered kits and said, do you want this other skin or do you want the original skin? And we're going to be releasing 2 different skins for our airframes. We're going to be releasing with our current skin, which we're going to be calling the HD skin or the heavy duty skin. And we're going to be releasing LW skin or a lightweight skin, which is about the same weight as the paper that comes on the foam. And so it doesn't print quite as nice, but it's lighter weight, and it is in my opinion, it's a little bit harder to work with because it's not as rigid. So when you go to lay things down, it's a little bit more floppy. But I'm telling you what, it really makes a difference in the weight of the airframe. It doesn't make the foam board as strong. It's just like the original paper, but it really does. The people who have done it have used it, have actually enjoyed it. So there you go. Look for it coming soon. The lightweight skin and the heavy duty skin.
And I'm just flipping through for the video. I'm just flipping through. You don't just have one color. You have multiple color, multiple skin options, multiple themes. Like with the Texan, you've got the Marines, What else is there? The U.S. Air Force, the RCAF. Thank you, sir. And even, when you approach me on the Wasp, you're like, what would look cool in the
You're welcome.
Wasp? And the Wasp is basically looks like a F-18. And I'm like, Canada 150, dude. It was an amazing color scheme for that year. And it's just red, silver, or red and gray with the maple leaf burst on the top and everything. And yes, it is a daunting task when you first start learning how to put the stuff on, and it's all timing, and you're trying not to get the glue on your hands. But after a while, it's like, oh, yeah, just done part. And you just get into a really awesome rhythm. And Sam is right. The parts pick up a little bit of mass, but they also start really becoming, a really well put together piece, especially the double-sided, when you have two pieces. So like the fins on the back of the Wasp are they're rigid, and they can take a hit, as I can testify, as my poor Wasp was taking a few hits, a few bumps and everything, but a little bit of glue, a little bit of tape, and poof, you're off, right? So it's
You're back in the air, right?
well, it's a different building experience. I mean, after a couple of years of doing kits and everything, or foam board, everything, it's a really new kind of way to do it, and your airplane looks stunning. I've painted it, I've done tape, but this really is. And then if you really want to protect it, you get some poly spray, whatever, polyacrylic. And you protect, and it's a water-based or whatever, and you protect your airframe, and then you don't have to worry about the paper getting saturated with water and everything. So
yes, it is cool, and that's part of the uniqueness I wanted. I wanted two people to go online and buy our kits or buy skins, because we just sell skins. For those of you who don't know, another shameless plug. But I wanted two people to be able to buy our kits and take them out to the field and not go, oh, well, which one's mine in the sky?
Yeah.
And so I really wanted people to be able to do that. And so we tested that out on our first airframe. With the Vulture, you can order 3 skins. Okay. And then we went to the Wasp, or we went to the 7, and we realized with our process, because we're still small, this is one of the benefits of being a smaller company. Because of our process and because how small we are able to customize each kit. Meaning, when a kit order comes in, and that we try to do it within 2 to 3 days. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer, but when a kit order comes in, we just don't have 100 kits sitting, shelved, for storage space. We manufacture that kit as the orders come in, which is really cool, because that allows us to not only personalize that kit and make it the best we can, but it allows us to customize that kit. So we're able to do multiple colors of skins. With the 7, I don't even know how many skins we have with the 7. We have quite a few. You can pick a different color, so you and your buddy don't have the same color 7. And as long as the design doesn't change, it's relatively easy to change those colors. For example, if someone really wanted a RCAF Wasp, right, but they wanted it in, I don't know, purple, we can do it in purple relatively easy, right? And so that's the beauty of it. Now, we went out on a limb with the Texan, and we have 21 skins for the Texan, which is amazing, because you could be out there with a whole fleet of Texans and they'd all be different, right? And you'd be able to tell which one's yours. And so it's cool because we're able to do that. And so our process allows that. Now, if we start making, 100,000 kits a year, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But as of right now, that's the beauty of someone who orders from us. They get that individuality, they get that customizable, that feature. You can go in and pit a Marines Texan versus a Navy Texan versus a Canadian RCAF Texan, which we did, which is on the website, just FYI. So that's the beauty. That's what we love is we love, yes, the Harvard, sorry, not the Texan. I apologize. My apologies, sir. We love the customization, and we love the uniqueness, and we love for people to be able to do that. And that's why we offer multiple skins so that you and your buddy can have the same airframe, but not have the same airframe when you're out in the field.
Yeah, and you know, Sam's even been really awesome to drop the podcast logo on a few aircraft here and there, and I guess that's something you can do too if you want a special request. And like he said, okay, you can order a skin, so you get a high quality printed skin, and if you're on a budget, well, you can also download the free PDFs, and that's another awesome little feature of the company as well.
Which I will proudly announce, and I know there's a lot in the community right now, and I get why, you know, it's beyond call spade a spade. Flight Test is doing what they're doing, but as of right now, we're small enough. Once again, our plans are always going to be free. I can't predict 30 years down the road, but as of right now, I 100% always want our plans to be free. That's kind of the way the foam board community was founded, if you will. And that's the way I want it to be. So, and I know why Flight Test is doing it, and I don't doubt that. I don't blame them for doing it whatsoever, because that's hard. But our plans will always be free, and we're the little guys where nobody knows about us, if you will, compared to Flight Test. We will always 100% have our plans being free.
Yeah, and just for anybody listening who doesn't understand what we're talking about, you can go in and download two styles. So and when you're doing foam board building, it's you sometimes spend more time, you know, putting the plans together. So you can download what they call a tiled sheet. So if an airplane uses, you know, 3 or 4 pieces of foam board, which are 20 inches by 30 inches, well, you take your letter size paper, and there's little hash marks that align it. You cut all that, you tape it, you put it all together. And this is why this hobby is fantastic in the winter, especially if you have a really horrible winter, because you set it out on the mat, you put everything down, you cut out your stuff. It doesn't have to be precise, because you can really fudge it, right? And you can really fill in some barriers and gaps and everything. That's a real cool thing. It doesn't have to be, it's not rocket science, right? It's foam board.
No.
So there's going to be some variances and everything, right? And the plane doesn't care. It will fly. You just apply enough power, right? Anything will fly with enough power. But so it's cool. Like, you take these plans, or you take the full size one, you go down to your local print store, and you can get a big giant thing printed off, and you cut it all out. And I used to take my plans and like put tape over and preserve them, especially if early on when I was crashing and doing rebuilds. But now it's just like, let's use the 30 or 40 sheets of paper, especially if you're at work with a color laser printer. Shh, right? And then you tape that all together and you go. And
it's a nice perk, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I have a black and white here, and I can do it now pretty quick. But you know, and it's all about design and everything. But it's nice in that, you know, if you are in an ultimate super budget and you see a design that you like, and that's just it is spirit of the of how the hobby is supposed to be, I feel.
And there's hundreds of plans out there. I mean, if you go to the Flight Test forums, if you go to RC groups, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of plans out there that people have designed and are just putting out there in the community. Yeah. So if you're worried about not getting some plans, just Google it and you will find plans. There's lots of them out there. And there's lots of trainers. There's lots of advanced planes. There's lots of planes that people have done that you don't even know who they are. And just go out there and look, and they're out there. Go to the Flight Test forums. They're there.
Yep. And or grab a notepad and some paper and whatever aircraft inspires and do the math. Lift doesn't scale, so you have to fudge it, especially in the tails and stuff. But that's why, like, that's what I loved about taking 2 pieces of foam board and putting it together. I'm like, hey, there's a 60-inch wing, ta-da! And then you go from there, right?
Ta-da! Yeah.
You just gotta get the CG right. That's all.
It is true, and you do, and it's amazing what will fly. Dan Sponholz just did that yin and yang plane, the plans for it. I can't remember whose plane it was.
Terry's.
I can't remember. I wish I could remember who actually designed it. Yes. And you're like, that thing will never fly. And it flies great. Yeah. You know? So it will fly. Use your imagination. Learn some basic principles of flight. Look at other people's plans, such as Flight Test or ours or whoever's, learn how the wings are built, learn how lift works, go out and design your own plane.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then share it with us.
Well, and it's funny because you look at these designs, and I've got a few, and I love the fact that the majority of these planes, yeah, we can do the over and under camber wings, but the flat bottom wings, it works just fine, and you get some really docile, nice flying aircraft, right? It doesn't have to be crazy complex. And if you do goof up, and I've got some stunning crash videos on my YouTube videos, stunning, of like, if you do something really crazy and it's overbuilt, put a spar in. And, because otherwise, your wings will do that. It happens.
Yeah. And for spars, use paint sticks. I mean, the supplies, you can build an aircraft, and that's what really inspired me when I first got into the hobby.
Yeah.
You can build an aircraft really for things you find at your Dollar Tree, your local like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, your hardware store.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go to your hobby store. Now, although I would recommend go supporting your local brick and mortar hobby store, absolutely. But you can build an airplane with parts you find in your garage, most likely, which is really, really cool.
Oh yeah, when I first started, I was racing, so the hobby was secondary. And when I started scratch building, it was like, okay, I got a little stick glue gun. All the glue sticks were from the hobby store. All the parts, all the foam board, all the popsicle skewers, everything I could build and source from the dollar store for maximum budget. It made all the difference in getting going. And then obviously history shows went a little crazy, but and yes, it is possible.
But that was the beauty of it. That's the beauty of foam board, and that's why I love it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but you can go. I guess the biggest thing we're saying here is you can take this hobby from left to right as far as you want. It all depends on what you want out of it. How much time do you want to build? How much time do you want to be on the bench? Do you want a quick build? Do you just want to get out flying, and simplify and just get a kit and go? So this hobby is
right.
You make the hobby what you want it. There you go. Trying to summarize that idea.
Right. Sorry, that's my dog.
Hey, you know what? I got a cat sitting at my feet. My cat's sitting at my feet attacking me too. So, she's like, hey, why are you here, not outside? It's beautiful outside.
Yes. Yes, right. But yeah, and honestly, Andre, that's what I love about this hobby is there is something for everybody. And there's not just one way to do it. Meaning, if you like to fly helicopters, go fly helicopters. They're out there. If you like to fly quads, go fly quads. If you like to fly fixed wings and you want to get into turbines and the whatever, go ahead. If you just want to get up there and relax, there's planes out there for you. And that's why I want to continue that legacy. I want to continue getting people into this wonderful hobby because there really is something for everybody.
Yeah. I expect so. Yeah, like I'm looking at your fleet. Okay, there's got to be a twin eventually. What about FPV? Have you thought about any FPV aircraft, like a wing or something like that?
I have been lately. Wings have been on my mind. We don't have one in development currently, although I would love to have one. I have just recently, within the past year, gotten into FPV.
Oops! I wonder who spurred
I'm just
that.
Learning and. I'm blaming Andre. Hashtag blame Andre. I got myself a set of FPV headgear and just a cheap one, which is fine because I'm just starting out and I didn't want to go out and spend lots and lots and lots of money on FPV gear when I didn't even know if I liked it or not. But I started out with it on an airboat, a foam board airboat, because I really wanted to figure out if I could actually do it. And yes, I can. And I'm super excited to start experiencing that in the air. I've only done it a couple times. But yes, FPV is amazing. Although, once again, rules are changing, especially with the FAA, and I'm assuming Canada will fall in line relatively quickly.
Yeah.
the whole new, have to have a spotter and line of sight. Makes it really hard for someone like you and me who usually flies alone to go out and do FPV.
Yeah. Yeah. I fly a lot of sub 250 quads these days, or more and more. And so it's, just as that buffer or have a safety. Actually, speaking of FPV, I've got these two goodies sitting here, and for anybody looking and listening, those are DJI Caddx Air Units and Vista units. So they'll be going into my fixed wing. I've got a really nice quad. I bought the goggles and the remote and everything, but definitely want to up the fixed wing game because it's just I like flying planes.
Don't we all?
I'm just checking through the questions and all that. So yes, on the HangerRC fleet, I'm eventually going to be getting my hands on the possibly the 7 and definitely the Harvard/Texan or Texan/Harvard, and we'll be flying my Wasp as I get back into the nice fall flying season and everything and having a good time with that. And all the other reviews, I still have to do all the other stuff that's sitting behind the bench. I have to go and fly some of the other stuff again and have a little bit of fun, but I'm looking forward to building again. And I've been such a slacker, haven't flown any of my gas planes, and just, getting through the summer and everything, and hopefully into the fall.
Wasn't that supposed to happen this year?
Man, a lot of things. Like I look at everything that's gone on, and everything's just, I've got jets, like everybody was like, are you going to get the new E-Flight, Viper? And I'm like, it's really expensive. And I've got jets that I haven't flown. And again, it's one of those things. The momentum changes, the timings change, and the desire to be stressed. That's the thing about jets, right? It's stress.
Yes.
So everything will come in time.
You're right.
And I say this about the podcast too. People are like, "Where's the podcast? Where's the podcast?" I'm like, "It will come when the energy and the desire and the interconnections go." I've done a couple on my own, and it's no fun. Actually, it works, but having a good positive conversation about all this stuff is far more valuable to a listener versus me just rambling on. Not that I can't do it. Apparently, I can talk. But I like to hear it, and we're going to continue to push, trying to push into the hobby, into the industry with various other discussions about other models and everything. So, what else do you want to discuss, my friend? Like, what else is on your mind for this hobby right now, or is it just basically wait and see and overcome whatever the next hurdle is?
Well, I'll be honest, the FAA has been on my mind a lot lately. What's it going to do when they, all these new regulations that are coming out, and now they have the new test you have to take, the trust test. But I am a Part 107 pilot, and so I don't have to technically worry about that, but I want to, just because then I have the option to fly as a hobbyist or as a business, although most of the stuff I do is a business. So that's been on my mind a lot lately. Really upping our game in the industry, meaning getting back into, and like I said, we had summer kicked our butts. Not only were we coming out, starting to see COVID restrictions ease, but now we have the second variant coming up and are coming out and dealing with that. And then just, here in Utah, and like we were talking before the show, we're in an epic drought. Like, we're in serious trouble with our water. And then my parents' hometown down in southern Utah got a 500-year flood. They got 2 inches of rain in like less than a half hour or 45 minutes or something. It was insane. And so, and then between my kids' soccer games and it just, summer happened. And I didn't even get out and get camping this year, which is very unlike my family to not go camping and not to take the four-wheelers out and whatnot. But summer happened, and I've rededicated myself now to, doing more work with the hangar and getting things back up and going. And like I said earlier, we are working on a whole series of planes. We're trying to bring them all up at once so we can release them fairly quickly for this winter build season, for those of you who like to build during the winter. So stay tuned. That's what's been on my mind. I really need to get back out and fly. I really haven't flown for quite a while. And part of that is because of just everything that's been going on, from running the business to the whole summer thing. It's just been crazy. And part of it is desire. You know, I spend all day on the computer and I come home and I just don't want to do anything. I want to do something mindless, you know, like watch my favorite TV show. But
yeah.
So I don't know. It really, really depends.
I've been right there with you, man. I've had to actually force myself to go out. I did a review one day and I'm like, I'm going to do this at lunch. And I was like, it was the Ghost flight. And it was stressful. My heart rate was going because I was having fun. But it was like, okay, it's 10 minutes to the field, set up the camera, shoot, talk coherently on camera about the flight, do the extra, do the intro and all this stuff, and then take off. And, and so it's, it was, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I might go out for a quick little personal flight, but I'm not going to try and shoot an episode because I want to be able to make sure that whatever I'm shooting is good and excellent and fun and everything. So yeah, it's that balance. And then yes, the local guys, my buddies, my good friends, they're all like, where are you? I'm like, I'm sleeping in on Saturday morning. Thanks, guys. It's been a long week. I want to sleep in. Terrible. But and just
been a busy week at work. I want to sleep in.
Well, and it's just and I think a lot of people, like our field, we really noticed the uptick in people using the field because, everybody's home, so and just the change in tempo. So as things go back to normal, especially particularly right now in Canada, as things go back to normal, it might start improving. So and we hopefully it does. So sorry, just removing comments from annoying chatter. Yeah, I think it's hopefully things, it can only get better, right? We can't go any further down. We've got to start going back up. We got to start enjoying having fun. And you had your dog, and now I've got my cat. Hello, world. Hello, mystery.
Awesome.
Okay.
But that's I'll be honest. That's another beauty of the hobby, Andre, is because you can take those breaks if you need to. You can, put your aircraft up on the shelf and keep it there, and then pick it back up when you're ready. And it's kind of like riding a bike. You're not going to forget how to fly. It may take you a few crashes to get back there, but another beauty thing about the hobby, another beauty thing about foam board builds is if you do crash it, you're not out a ton of money. You can rebuild it. You can go to the hobby store and repair it. Even if you buy a kit from us, you can go down and you need to replace the part. You may not be able to replace the skin, but you can replace the part that you need.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it, and that's kind of been our conversation is the beauty of that part of the hobby, and that's why I do it, is because I can do it when I want to, and I can do it the way I want to.
Yeah, the idea of the hobby isn't supposed to be stressful, and it's supposed to be that mental release. Lee Davidson just asked, I dealt with the spam. Was asking her, where would it go? What does everybody think of the 50 millimeter EDFs? I might look at a few. My local hobby store, Great Hobbies here in Ottawa, has a few. I may snag one. We'll see. I have to decide if I want to spend it. Are you looking at any EDFs, my friend?
We have some planes. What can I tell you, Andre?
Yes is I think yes is the simplest way. I know I'm terrible, and sorry.
No, we have sourced some EDFs from our manufacturer in China, so that's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that is probably the hardest thing is when you do design a kit is one, finding the common parts, finding parts that can be sourced that are close enough to what you're speccing out so that people have that positive experience. And I think the EDFs are like this voodoo issue because, okay, got a nice idea, got a size, got everything, but all of a sudden you can't replicate, like a person can't replicate it. And we've had that conversations too, where you've said, well, if you buy it from us and you're going to ship it from there and right? Where it's, so it's finding common grounds, but particularly with EDFs, because I think
cost too.
Oh my
EDFs
gosh,
are expensive
for what they are.
They're ridiculously expensive. And so I am and I know Flight Test is there's I guess it's Flight Test now, or it's Ben Harbor's, but the BDF's a thing, and I really want to try those out. Haven't done that yet, but EDFs are kind of this mystery to a lot of people, because they're scared of them, and I really want to make them more approachable, especially in the price category. Like you talked earlier in the podcast, prices are going up and everything's getting more expensive, and I still want to maintain that, where someone can get into it for relatively cheap. Even if their kid says, I want to get into it, they can do that and then make it approachable. So yes, EDFs are kind of I don't know, they're awesome, they're cool, but they're kind of the black sheep of the RC world, I think, in my opinion, because they are. Not a lot of people understand them. Not a lot of people know how they work, and not a lot of people can afford them.
Yeah, and things like, okay, what battery and everything. So I guess actually, if you were able to say, okay, you're a Wasp, you own a Wasp and everything, the same batteries that you find in your Wasp will potentially work in whatever you build next, but you've got to say, I'm committing to X spec, and then I've got to make this X spec aircraft fly well and everything too, where it's not just a complete handful. So yeah, it sounds like an awesome challenge.
And you say that's the other thing I like to do is common parts, right? Most of our airframes fly off a very common 2212 1400 kV motor. Minus the Wasp. And it flies off a massive, 3542 1250 kV motor. Anyway, so the point is, that's why I like that 40 to 50 or 60 inch, that 40 to 60 inch wingspan, because it allows you to fly off common parts. You pick up a Wasp, you pick up a 7, and you wreck the 7. You go pick up or build a Vulture. Guess what? The same power pack, same power kit is going to work in that. And it has its advantages, it has its disadvantages, but you get a completely different flight experience, and you don't have to go spend a bunch more money on new power kits. And if you do, the components that we're using, because they're probably the most common motor, that 2212 1400 kV, a 30 amp ESC, and a 2200 3S battery. Those are a dime a dozen.
Except if you live in Canada.
So that's the other. Except if you live in Canada, and then it's twice as much. That's why I like the common parts that you can keep common.
And I guess the really nice thing about that too is the spec you're talking about. It's a good motor. It's a good ESC, with what, 9-inch prop, 8-inch prop, depending on the application. You're not overloading the battery, the ESC, or the motor. You're not overtaxing any of that. I have batteries that I used with very similar specs that I bought back in 2013, 2014. Just simple zippy compacts, 35, 25C, 3S 2200s. They're older now. They're definitely showing their age, but they're still a viable, safe battery too, right? Because they have not been overloaded and abused. And set your timer. Set your timer, folks. That's all you need to remember. Otherwise, I used to fly.
And Lee Davidson Stinger just said about like the 50 millimeters. Sorry to cut you off. He said about the 50. That's why he likes the 50 millimeters. I'll be honest. The 50 millimeters are probably the most affordable EDF out there.
Yeah. And some of these ones, like I said, the ones being specced out by that I've seen for Great Hobbies and everything, exactly that. They'll take a 3S, and I'm like, there's some attractiveness to that, because it's like, wow, getting back to everything we're talking about, where you're looking at an airframe, even if it's a store-bought airframe, but it's under $200 again. That is a huge attractive thing to look at again. It's because it's like, okay, this is affordable. Rather than buying a $600 airframe, I might get 2 or 3, and then it'll run on a good battery. So it's everything. It's a philosophy of what I've really been. I am been super fortunate in this hobby, and I've got some amazing aircraft. And I probably will not going to be getting rid of anything anytime soon. But at the same time, I'm also always looking at that. Where's the joy? Where is that absolute joy? Where's that sweet spot between tinkering, building, flying, and really, really pulling back on the acquisition part, because you can get sucked into that vortex of just want. No. you can only fly so many planes at once. And so I've been pulling myself back. I've been selling stuff off as I've gone, just to fund other stuff. And then my wife's got that posty note that some of you have seen on social media. For every new airplane that comes in, 2 or 3 must go away. And I hate to say it, but because I'm not flying a lot, the crash ratio is way down. So yeah, maybe I need to do some burning, some crash and burning, and say, oh, look, you got rode off. Oh, darn. No, I like preserving my stuff. I like preserving my stuff. And I don't know about you, but I had some seriously ratty foam board airplanes for a longest time. I had a few. Oh, my original FT Racer was more glue than foam before I was done. But boy, did it fly good because it was so heavy. There are aircraft that just
my first
last.
Vulture.
Yeah.
It just recently crashed it the last time I was flying with my kids. My kids crashed it. Not a big deal. It kind of was bittersweet because it was my first Vulture, but it was probably more hot glue than it was actual foam board.
Lee, Lee must be retired. I'm hoping you're retired, but he just said, I fly every day and post 4 videos a day now. Laugh out loud. Yeah. You know what? I really pushed on my YouTube channel and I had some fun, but I pulled back because I wanted to just relax and enjoy the experience. I'm still producing content, still will do some more, but it's based on when I can do it and do it well. And that's just every once in a while I tweak. I'm satisfied with the YouTube equipment. We actually never did the how I shoot stuff and everything in the field video, but I'm satisfied with all the gear I've got. I made some good pushes into the studio and everything, and I think into the winter you'll start seeing a little bit more regular content. Like you said, it just relaxing a little bit more. Everything seems to be getting a little brighter and better. So yeah, wow. There we go, sir. I think we've jammed on pretty good. So, Sam from the HangerRC, you'll see all the links and everything. We've answered a bunch of questions and everything from anybody who was online this afternoon. Thank you. For the Patreon people, stay tuned. We're going to be releasing some details because we're going to be giving away one of the HangerRC kits. The Texan with a little, this the giveaway one that's got the logo on it for the podcast, so someone will get very lucky. It's a combination. It's the gray with the yellow with the RC Afterhours podcast logo, which I'm so thrilled about. I really got to produce some stickers for the world too. I've been bad and not really paying enough attention to this.
It's Harvard, by the way.
Yes. Oh, it is the Harvard. Good.
It's the Canadian Harvard. So they are the Harvard version. So
excellent.
In the Harvard version, the Canadian, it says RCAF on them. So it's only fitting, Andre.
Of course. Blame Andre. Blame Canada. I've actually got. You can't see it. Hold on. My wife from her birthday got one of those vinyl cutters, and so she started producing T-shirts and everything for me. So this one's like adult mode off. Nice. Thank you very much. That's the way life should be these days, right? Nice. Okay.
Yes, it should. Absolutely.
I should find my my extra music and get that already. But hey, do you have any final parting comments before we wrap up this awesome podcast? Again, this is episode 89. I'm getting ahead of myself. 90 is the next one. I have to do something 89. Fun. 89, episode 89. Agent 89? No,
yeah.
99. Getting my numbers wrong. Anyway, any parting shots or thoughts?
I just want to... Like I said before, I want to thank people. I want to thank our supporters. I want to thank you, Andre. You've been an amazing contributor. You've been my sidekick. Every time I have a question, we've had long, extensive chats online. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate what you're doing for the hobby. I appreciate anybody. Lee Davidson's Hangar. He contributes to our squadron page on Facebook constantly with his videos. I appreciate the people who support us. I really do. My designers, I'm grateful to them, my beta builders, the beta team. There's so many people I have to be thankful for. And the more, and this sounds pathetic, but the more you guys support me and support Andre and support the people who are trying to move the hobby forward, the more we can give back, the more we can do for the hobby. And those are things that I really internalize and I really, really appreciate. And I want people to know that I appreciate their support for us for purchasing a kit more than they know, and it just allows us to give back. And go over to our, once again, we're doing another giveaway. If you're not an RC After Hours, what do you call them, insider, Patreon subscriber, there you go. Get on there. Do it now, because you'll get a chance to get the Harvard, just about said Texan. And go over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HangerRC, and you can, if you subscribe to us, you can have a chance to win a Vulture. You really can, and potentially other airframes as well.
Very
That's it.
cool.
That's all I got.
Well put. Thank you. It's again, it's been nice. Yeah, we're gonna keep trying to put together this podcast and keep pushing and everything. Thanks for the ones who stuck around. Sorry to the ones who've said, yeah, you need to be doing more. But it's as I said, it's life. We're doing everything we can with this fun hobby and everything. So I'm Andre. My guest today was Lee from the HangerRC. It's been absolutely, sorry, Lee, not Sam. Lee, maybe we got Lee on the show. Sam, sorry about that. It's been a long day. I've had a fun weekend, right? So I got to go flying. Got to really get out flying.
I get it.
So.
I get it.
Yeah. All right. Here's the extra music. Thanks for everybody who's tuned in and everything. Stay tuned for the next episode, and those Patrons tune in and find out what happens next. Thank you for everybody. Have an excellent time. Ciao.